Please remain standing for a solemn moment of reflection. We want to acknowledge that we're on the lands traditionally occupied by the Indigenous people. They continue to care for this land. They continue to shape the town of New Tecumseth, and we want to show our respect. Hundreds of years after the first treaty were signed, they're still relevant today. Thank you. Steve? All right, we'll go to awards and recognition. Councillor Jeb.
Thank you, Worship. On Saturday, I had the opportunity to participate in the Abilities in Motion Hands Across the Water. Andy Owens has done this for the past past few years before COVID. And it's a great event, bringing awareness to the paddling that's accessible. And it was a great morning. As well, there's two other announcements. July the 30th, it's the World Day to End Trafficking in Persons. And I'd just like to acknowledge that day, July the 30th. And as well on July 30th, it's Tongs Up Ontario. And get your tongs up for Food Day Canada. And everyone is encouraged to take a photo of your meal and enter it, and you may win a prize from the Ontario Federation of Agriculture. So all you foodies out there, Tongs Up Ontario, July 30th.
Thank you, Councillor Noy.
Thank you, Your Worship. We had under 10 ball hockey team. They're called New Tecumseth Stream, and they were silver medalist winners in Milton. The tournament was held about approximately 3 weeks ago. So I'd like to congratulate that team on their win. And also there was two children from from Alliston, Carter Lund and Mason Simone were invited to a team from Barrie under 10, and they had the ball hockey tournament in Mississauga, and they end up being gold medalists. So I'd like to congratulate them.
Thank you, Worship. On Saturday, on behalf of His Worship and members of council, I had the privilege of presenting a birthday certificate to Helen Pollock. She's lived a long time in Greenbrier. She lives on Riverview Road, and she turned 99. So I have something to achieve. I have to catch up to Helen. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are no items to add or delete. Thank you, Your Worship. There are no items for separate discussion.
Councillor Beatty.
Thanks, Your Worship. R1, please.
Okay. I'll go back to clerk to summarize all items identified for separate discussion. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. The only item for separate discussion is R-1, Procedure Bylaw Amendment number 1.
Thank you. Then moved by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Jeb, be it resolved that the items on the Committee of the Whole meeting report dated July the 11th, 2022, and the Committee of the Whole Public Planning meeting dated July 13, 2022, including additional information memorandums with the exceptions of those items identified for separate discussion be approved and the recommendation therein be adopted. And further, the communication items and any other items listed on the council meeting agenda dated July 25th, 2022, with the exceptions of those items identified for separate discussion be received and or adopted. Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. First item is R1 and Councillor Beatty.
Thanks, your worship. This is the procedure bylaw amendment to coincide with the motion that was passed at council July 11th, which basically returns us to the pre-COVID state with committee meetings and council meetings. And I just thought I'd bring this back to council for consideration. I know that the recommendation passed returns all meetings, but I think that there's merit in leaving some of the committees of council virtual, or at least those members with the option of being available to attend virtually. I'm thinking of the Youth Advisory Committee. We have daytime meetings scheduled through the summer because they can be held virtually. If they're held in person, I'm not certain that, because the majority of the members don't drive, they could be driven to the administration center and picked up an hour or two after during a work day. So that's just one example. I'm not sure if the Committee of Adjustment could function better that way, the Accessibility Advisory Committee and other committees of council, but I think there's merit in leaving the recommendation as is, which is leaving the option to attend virtually until such time as the technology exists at the new town hall.
Thank you. Councillor Jeb.
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Beatty. Our accessibility committee, they have, some of them have immune compromise, and it would be safer for them to still meet virtually. So I think it would be wise to have that option that we could participate as well with, if any of us came down with COVID, and we'd still be able to participate, but we'd have to participate virtually.
Thank you. Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, Worship. I do think it's still important that we welcome the public back to council chambers. However, I'm not sure, maybe the clerk could answer this. Is it possible to leave in the procedure bylaw that committees are able to be attended virtually? Thank you.
I'll go to the clerk.
So yes, we can do that, Councillor McClellan. Just as a form of procedure, council did make a decision. So the report did go to council. It did not go to committee of the whole. So you're dealing with the decision of council. As such, if you do want to amend that motion that was passed at the July 11th council meeting, there would have to be a motion of reconsideration passed to permit the committees to attend virtually. And then we can adjust the procedural bylaw after you vote on it.
Councillor Beatty.
I would so move, your worship.
Second, Councillor Noy. Questions on the motion? Question, Councillor Foster. Sure. Madam Clerk. Okay, Councillor Beatty.
Sorry, if I could just request, I didn't have a microphone on.
Okay.
Councillor Beatty just review his motion for clarification, and then either Councillor Beatty or the clerk.
Okay.
Whoever. Thank
Councillor
you.
Beatty.
Thanks, your worship. So now that the motion for reconsideration is there, I would move that committees of council and members of council have the option to attend virtually for the rest of the term. Committees of council specifically. But if we get into a situation like we are tonight, one member that is not here is able to attend virtually. Under this recommendation, which we've passed, we should all be here. So it's not a question of whether or not we welcome the public back. I'm just concerned that committee members and people that have been on committees for for the last few years, and those committees that have functioned best virtually can continue to do so for the remainder of the term, which is just literally probably 2 or 3 meetings per committee.
Councillor Foster.
Councillor Beatty. Then the only question is, maybe to staff. Is there technical challenges associated with that? Because I remember there was 3 options before that details some technical ones. So I just wanted to add that to make sure that your motion doesn't fall in technical issues.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, your worship. Through his worship to Councillor Foster. We are actually able to facilitate committee meetings more easily virtually if we keep them completely virtual. So that would be maintaining the current system we have in place now. I think the direction council's going is that the meetings that take place in this room for council purposes would still be in person. However, the committees would maintain their virtual status until the technology is available at the new town hall.
Councillor Sainsbury.
Thank you. Just clarification. So just worst case scenario, could all of council do this from home? And the audience would be sitting there wondering where we went? Except for yourself, your worship, because you'd be here with all of the equipment to operate it for the balance of the.
Did it for a year and a half.
You did well. But that's what I'm saying, because if one night we did have 4 people that were doing it from home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor McClellan.
Thank you, worship. Just to clarify, is this motion just for committees or does it include council? Because I think in this room, there's technical difficulties at this point combining virtual and in-person council meetings. I was under the impression the motion is strictly for committees. So if we can clarify that, I think that would answer Councillor Sainsbury's question.
Madam Clerk?
Okay, so the motion I have for reconsideration is just to is just for committees to be maintained at the virtual status. But I just wanted to review the procedure again, because it is a little bit complicated tonight. So the motion that's on the floor right now is to reconsider the motion that was passed July 11th. So pending that approval, we do have to pass another motion before we consider the procedure bylaw amendment. And that's just to confirm that council will continue in person and the committees will be kept virtual. So it's a little bit of a double process, but we are required just to ask council to reconsider first before we confirm the intent, and then we can move on to the procedure bylaw. So I would be more than happy to walk council through that process once we get to that point, your worship.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor? Approved? All right, clerk.
Thank you, your worship. So the second motion would be that all council meetings be held in person until technology and meetings are held at the new town hall. And further, that committee meetings be kept virtual pending technology and meeting availability at the new town hall.
Questions? Councillor Foster? Okay. All in favor? Motion's carried.
Oh, I'm sorry, your worship, I missed the mover and seconder.
That was Councillor Beatty and Councillor Noy. Okay. All right, thank you.
Sorry, your worship. Lastly, we do need to deal with the report that's on the agenda this evening. So it's to receive report ADMIN 2021-29 be received, and further that a bylaw be enacted to repeal section 2.1G and 2.2 of the procedure bylaw for council meetings only.
Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Jeb. Questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. We'll move into the motion for the bylaws. Be resolved, the following bylaws were read a first, second, and third time enacted. 078, 79, 80, 81. Moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councillor Foster. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any announcements, general information, Councillor Harrison McIntyre?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to let everyone who's not aware that New Tecumseth is participating in Simcoe Reads 2022. So this is an opportunity for all the libraries to put forward a book that they think everyone needs to read. And the information is available at the libraries. New Tecumseth's book is What Strange Paradise. And I'm their champion. So I'm going to be defending that book
Oh, nice.
at a debate in Barrie against a bunch of other local people. And so this card is available at the library and it has all the different books for you to read. They're all Canadian authors and they're all good reads so far.
Good, thank you.
Mine's the best.
Yours got more pictures? Councillor Noy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is information. I travel down Highway 50 every day through Palgrave and I noticed some signs on the telephone posts. And it said on the signs, municipal cameras coming soon. So I don't know if that's that photo radar cameras or whatever. My question is, does the municipality have the right to ticket speeders like going through the municipality? Or is that an OPP job? So, you know, I'm just questioning these signs. So
Okay.
maybe CAO has heard about this or whatever.
Mr. CAO?
Mayor Millen, through you to Councillor Noy and members of council. To the best of my knowledge, Councillor Noy, the OPP has speeding enforcement jurisdiction. Our bylaw officers do not. Those municipal cameras might be more crime related, which we ourselves are involved in a program with the Police Services Board and our local detachment of the OPP and our local businesses with respect to cameras in our downtown area as a crime prevention and that type of program. So it might be involved in that as well. But is speeding enforcement is the police.
Good. Thank you. Good point. Councillor McClellan?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to mention that there is an open house at the Beaton Arena this Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 for the Beaton Heritage District. The consultants will be on site to answer any questions. So let's hope to see everybody there. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just to circle back to Councillor Noy's question about the cameras coming. Actually, Simcoe County, His Worship and I, collectively as a county, you've been working with the school boards and AMO because we're equipping our school buses. It's going to take time to do all of them, but we will be putting cameras on them. So when the stop signs come out and the red lights flash, those that run those automated armed stop signs, you will get a ticket in the mail for that. So just, you know, like the days are coming, we're trying to figure out how to make our roads, you know, safer and that type of stuff. So just to elaborate, the communities are looking at ways to increase safety. Thanks, Your Worship.
Great, thanks. Thank you. Anybody else? Hello. Moved by Councillor Sainsbury, second by Councillor Beatty, be resolved in a bylaw 2022-083 to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting on July 25th, 2022, to be read a first, second, third time and enacted. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Councillor Jeb?
I move that we adjourn at 6:19, Your Worship.
In favor? Carried, thank you. We'll go right into the committee of the whole meeting. At this time, I'll go to the clerk to identify any items to add or delete to the.
There are no items to add or delete, Your Worship.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Noy, second by Councillor McClellan, that the recommendation at the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting held on July 25th, 2022 be confirmed as circulated. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. This time, if council has a pecuniary interest, you can claim it now or when the item comes up. Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, your worship. I'd like to declare on CW 401 as it's a real estate issue, please. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? We'll go back to clerk to identify items for separate discussion and the reasons thereof, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, your worship. CW 31, New Tecumseth Collingwood Supply of Water Agreement. We have a deputation. CW 41, sale of 10 and 14 Wellington Street East and 14 Church Street South, Alliston, Ontario. There has been a pecuniary interest declared. Thank you, your worship.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to council to identify items for a separate discussion. Councillor Sainsbury.
Thank you, worship. Two of the ones that I wanted to speak to have been pulled, so I'll just wait
Okay.
my turn.
Thank
But I'd
you.
like to pull CW 52 related to the rain barrel program. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on this side? Okay, go. Councillor Foster.
CW 14, please, Mayor Mill.
Thank you. I'll go back to clerk to summarize all items identified for separate discussion. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, your worship. CW 14, Water Servicing Allocation Policy, written motion from Councillor Foster. CW 31, New Tecumseth Collingwood Supply of Water Agreement. There's a deputation. CW 41, sale of 10 and 14 Wellington Street East and 14 Church Street South, Alliston, Ontario. There's a pecuniary interest that's been declared. And CW 52, rain barrel rebate program. Thank you, your worship.
What was the first item, Madam Clerk?
CW 14, Water Servicing Allocation Policy, written motion from Councillor Foster.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Foster, second by Councillor Harrison McIntyre, that all the items not identified for separate discussion be received and the recommendation then there be recommended to council for adoption. All in favor? Thank you. And the first item is CW 31. And 14.
Thank you, Mayor Mill. I know it might seem funny to pull my own member's motion, but I just thought it was important to maybe just suggest why I've put this motion forward. We've had a number of discussions, and assumptions and long-range planning are an integral part of the municipality, but the difficulty ensues when our assumptions don't materialize because we have granted a zoning bylaw amendment or a site plan approval with attachments for water and wastewater. And then for a host of reasons, there's no reason to discuss, it's maybe put off for a number of years. So that throws our ability to plan long-term into difficulty. So what I'm hoping this will do, and thank you to Director Best for helping pen this this policy. Not helping, actually, she penned it. So
If the truth is only known.
Honey, you got to give credit where credit's due, Mayor Mill. Hopefully that she's well versed in this and in other municipalities that she's been at. And she certainly speaks passionately about it. So hopefully this will be a tool in our toolbox to assist us with any kind of planning that we do and the monetary issues that come with it. So just as a brief history, that's the logic behind it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Sainsbury, second is that. Whereas the municipal water and wastewater servicing allocation will become more limited in the town of New Tecumseth with the impending residential and employment growth over the next 30 years. And whereas the town of New Tecumseth Council has sole discretion to distribute water and service and allocation for developments to provide housing and employment, it has little control when a development will proceed to construction. And whereas the town of New Tecumseth will be granting approval to a number of development applications, including the appropriate amount of servicing allocation to allow the development to proceed to construction. And whereas there is a concern that some of these developments may not proceed to the building permit stage in a timely manner, and now therefore be resolved, but the staff be directed to develop a servicing allocation policy with the basis of a use it or redistribute it with a sunset clause for development application approvals under the Planning Act and building permits issued under the building code. The policy will provide timeframes for use of servicing allocation, and if the applicant does not satisfy the timeframe requirements or receive extension from council, the development approval and service allocation may be revoked. Any questions? All, well done, Councillor Foster. All in favor? You could make it a bit shorter for next time.
Your worship, he just wanted you to read it. That's what it was.
All right, CW 3-1. We have a deputation.
Yes, your worship, we do have a deputation this evening. I'll ask Miss Lori Neville to come into the the virtual room. And Lori, if you can just turn on your camera.
I'm just doing it
Okay. Thank you.
verbally.
Oh, that's fine.
Welcome, Ms. Neville.
Hi, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Council, for allowing me an opportunity to ask a couple of questions. Also, I thank you and acknowledgement to the town individuals, whoever they were, who worked for over 2 years on this agreement. I don't know, but it seems like it was a challenge. So thank you to that team for bringing this to fruition. We're all aware that water is essential. However, the cost of water is troubling. I'm concerned about the amount of debt pressure our town is experiencing due to our water needs. It appears that our town's total water debt is the 71 million for Collingwood, 6.5 for that pipeline, 30 million for both the transmission main and the upgrades to Tottenham. So it's in excess of $100 million water debt. So my question is, how will the Collingwood water debt portion, just the Collingwood, the 71.5 million, be paid to Collingwood? Will that be a lump sum, or is that incremental monthly payments, that 71.5 million? How's that going to be paid?
Okay, I'll refer this question to Director Bedford.
Through your worship to council and to Ms. Neville, that would be paid based on a progression of the construction. So it wouldn't be monthly. The payments will be made to the town of Collingwood over the course of the construction process. And then at some point we would have to finance the construction where those payments would be made monthly. So eventually, after a 4-year period, it would be based on a monthly payment.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, how does that total excess of $100 million water debt, how does that contribute to the total town debt? So does that make up half of our total debt? Is it a quarter? Where does water fit in, our water debt, to the total debt load that our town has? I'm estimating about a quarter of that debt. Is that correct?
Director Bedford.
Through your worship, to council and Ms. Neville again, in anticipation of that question, and thank you for submitting your questions in advance. There is a slide that I have sent to the clerk that she can share on the screen. That would be an excerpt from the long-term financial plan, and it's slide number 25, clerk. So this isn't a new slide. This is a slide that was shown during a working session provided to council and the public. And you can see that the overall commitment of debt at the end of 2022 is 66 million. And all total, our debt is estimated to be in the range of $232 million by the end of the next 10-year cycle. if you take note, there are various elements that Ms. Neville referred to in this list of debt funded projects. So you will see in the green section, and the green section represents the total committed for 2022. You'll see the Collingwood pipeline acquisition, you see the Tottenham transmission main, and then further down, you'll see the 2026 Collingwood debt in the blue section, as well as future Collingwood expansions. I'll just point out, while we've got that same presentation available, if you go to slide 28. That a lot of that debt is intended to be funded through development charge. And so the blue section where you can see is ranging in the 30% range or less is the debt that would be funded through taxation, and the orange section is debt that will be funded through DCs. I hope that answers your question, Ms. Neville.
That's excellent. Thank you. So 232 million being our total debt load. Thank you. And the development charges. Thank you. So then I have one other question. I see in the summary for the new Tecumseh Collingwood supply of water agreement, there's a list of wholesale water rates gathered from various municipalities, which is great. It gives me an opportunity as a resident to view how we compare against our proposed water rate with Collingwood against other municipalities. I've seen this before with the meeting where you did development charges, where we compared our development charges with other municipalities, and then they were increased, so we'd be more in line. How does our debt load, total debt load, compare to other municipalities? So you said at 232 million with in excess of $100 million for water. How do we compare to little municipalities that are, let's say, under 100,000. Has that comparison ever been done?
Ask Director Bedford, please.
Through your worship, again, through council and Ms. Neville, we wouldn't compare actual absolute dollars of debt across municipalities because the municipalities would be so uniquely different. But that's where the tool of the debt capacity ceiling comes in. And that is a very comparative tool across municipalities. And all of that information is available on a website through the province. And you can compare every municipality's debt capacity in the entire province of Ontario. And so it is required that municipalities stay within that 25% limit.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you for directing me there. I will take a look. I thank you for the information. And finally, thank you for having the water barrel program. I see that on the agenda, and I see it also on the environmental committee. And in closing, thank you, council, for your time answering my questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Neville, and you have a good evening.
You too.
Motion moved by Councillor Lacey, second by Councillor Harrison McIntyre, that further that the mayor and clerk be directed to execute the supply of water agreement between the town of New Tecumseth and the town of Collingwood, subsequently in the form as attachment number 1 to report of CAO 2022-06. Any questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Next one is CW4, and Deputy Mayor has a conflict, but Councillor Foster wishes to speak on it.
Time's up. Everybody go. I thought we were just accepting the deputation. I think we're going to discuss the water agreement, are we not? Right, because I'm not prepared to vote for the agreement as it is. I'd like to go in camera and talk about the second opinion that we received.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
So the motion has been voted on. However, council does have the ability to go into closed session to discuss the legal opinion should council require some further clarification.
I understand. Yes, Councillor McClellan, and the Deputy Mayor will go in camera.
Okay, so